Today we're going to make onion and ale braised cube steak. So the first thing I want to talk about is toasting of spices. So I have my peppercorns and my caraway seeds. So what I want to do is I'm going to put them into a dry saute pan, no oil or anything else. It's going to go over a medium heat on the stove, and I'm going to toast it. And it's going to start to be like popcorn in the pan. It's going to pop a little bit. It's going to smell good. And you want to make sure that you toast it. It'll have little spirals or spindles of smoke coming out of it. You want to make sure you don't burn it though, because it doesn't taste good. It tastes bitter. Then we're going to put it in the spice grinder and grind it to a fine powder after the spices cooled down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my steaks, my cube steaks, and take them out of the package. I'm going to liberally season them with some salt. And then I'm going to flour them. So there, I'm salting them. There's my flour. And I want to make sure they're evenly dusted with flour. The flour is important because what's going to happen is it's going to help in browning, and it's also going to thicken the sauce long term. I'm going to season the other side now. I'm going to flour the other side. And then we're going to move to the stove. So in my braising pan, and with a pair of tongs and some oil, I'm going to put some oil on the bottom of the pan, just enough oil to make sure there's a nice even cooking surface, or cooking medium. That's going to come up to temperature. Once I start to see the oil is hot, I'm going to add the cube steaks to the pot. I want to make sure I don't overcrowd the pot. If you put too much in there at one time, it's going to cool the pot down too much, and it's going to cause the meat to leach out and not brown. So we want to make sure we brown them nicely. Once they're brown on one side, I'm going to flip them over, and then we're going to brown the other side. And then pull them out, and then we'll continue to brown the other two cube steaks. All right, so all of my cube steaks are browned. I've taken the first two out and put them on a plate. I'm going to take these two out and put them on a plate. You'll notice the fond of the bottom of the pan is dark. If it's burnt is bad and will lead to a bitter taste. If it's dark like this, that's okay. If it's burnt, just scrape it and start back over with a new pan. There's my butter and my bacon. I'm going to cook that. I'm going to render that until my bacon is crispy. So this is a healthy dish. The butter and the fat and the pork fat and the bacon, delicious and healthy for you. So I'm going to keep cooking the bacon until it's nice and crispy, or render the bacon. And there it is at its final stages. I'm going to move that around. Oh, you can see all that nice, delicious fat and then the crispy bacon. I'm going to add to the pan all of my onions. I'm going to move them around and cook them. I want to make sure I don't burn the onions, but I want to make sure they're nice and brown and sweet, caramelized. So there I am, stirring the pot again. Stir, 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 mash, 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 maybe a little bit. I want to get all that. We just want to stir it and make sure the onions cook thoroughly. So there my onions are. I have added to that as well my garlic at the very last bit of onion cooking. So my onion and my garlic mixture is cooked out. I'm going to add to that my tomato paste. My spices that I have ground. So that's my toasted caraway and black peppercorns. I'm going to stir all that in. And I'm going to cook that for a couple more seconds to toast the spices again, and make sure I cook out or pinsage the tomato paste. Once the tomato paste is cooked out, I'm going to add to my pan the beer, most of it. I had to taste it just to make sure it tasted okay, just a little bit of a taste. So in goes the beer. There I have a Belgian ale. You could use whatever sort of beer you have around the house. That's what I had. Probably something that tastes good though. So I'm going to mix the beer in, bring that to a simmer. I'm going to reduce that down about halfway. So the beer has reduced down. I have stirred periodically in between. I'm going to add the cube sticks back into the mixture. And right now I can testify that it smells really good. I'm going to add my stock to it. Make sure I'm covering by about 2/3. I'm going to stir that stock in. I'm going to bring it to a simmer. I'm going to maybe add a little more stock. I'm going to put my cartouche on. You'll notice I've cut a hole in the center of the cartouche so it acts as a vent. And then I'm going to put a lid on the pot. And I can do one of two things. Either I can turn it down low and leave it cook on the top of the stove, or I can turn my oven on 350 degrees, preheat it, and then finish the cooking process in the oven. Either one is acceptable. You have to be careful on the stovetop though, because it's a direct heat in the bottom and it could scorch. I'm going to cook the cube steaks until they're fork tender. I'm going to check them periodically. I'll remove the top or the cartouche, and I'm going to flip the cube steaks over periodically. Keep checking them. Keep making sure that they're fork tender. These are not fork tender yet. So I continue to cook them. Once I feel they're done, I'll check them periodically. I'm going to pull a cube steak out. It should be fork tender. You can see that my fork goes right through without much effort. So it's ready to go. My sauce, I'm going to skim, take any excess fat off the top of it, reduce it down to consistency or nappe, and then I'm going to add some lemon juice to it to taste. It's going to kind of depend on how much final product you have left over, or how much final sauce you have. I'm going to add some salt. Imagine that for me, adding salt. Some fresh ground black pepper. I know I put some pepper in the beginning, but I felt that it needs a little more black pepper to finish it. I'll mix all that in. A little bit of lemon zest in the sauce. And then what I will do is I will mix the lemon zest in. I'm going to taste it, make sure it tastes good. And then I'm going to add my cube steaks back into the sauce. Make sure everything is hot. And then I'm going to get ready to plate the cube steaks in a future video. So, of course, you have to taste it periodically.